Join us as we explore Barcelona through Gaudí's lens, from the innovative designs of Casa Batlló and Casa Milà, the whimsical design of Park Güell, and finally finishing at the awe-inspiring grandeur of Sagrada Familia. We start with a bus ride by Casa Batlló, which is a skeletal facade and has marine-inspired interiors. And if you look on the roof, you can see a dragon. Now just up the street is Casa Milà, also known as La Pedrera, the stone quarry, and it's a modernist building designed by Antoni Gaudí between 1906 and 1912. This is the smaller of the two Gaudí houses, but it's really interesting. The interior courtyard is open to the sky, and the tiles on the walls grow lighter as you look up, and gives a much better sense of openness and brightness. In all of Gaudí's works, you'll see undulating walls, curved walls, and lots of curved spaces, which makes it sort of look like it's a building carved out of rock. Gaudí is known for his unique approach, and he had things like ceramics, stained glass, wrought iron, and carpentry in all of his architecture. Antoni Gaudí used a variety of materials in all his architecture: stained glass, ceramics, wrought iron, and even carpentry. Gaudí was born in 1852 and died in 1926, unfortunately after he was hit by a tram in Barcelona. You can tour the interior of the house, but we didn't have time, so we went straight up to the rooftop to meet the guardians of the rooftop. Now, these structures appear to be chimneys, but they're not just functional. There are 30 of these very unique structures, and they're done with very different styles, some with ceramics, some use color, and some are designed as simple spirals. Some have a very militaristic look, hence the name the Guardians of the Rooftop. Also, they're called witch scarers. Some even double as exits, leading to the stairs that go down. I don't know who this fellow is, but we can look down and see the curved walls of the exterior, which is also characteristic of Gaudí. There are really great views from up here, and even from here you can see La Sagrada Familia, which we will visit later. I found this quite interesting. This facade does not face the main street, and hence it's pretty dirty. That's not paint. Now here you can get a quick look down into the interior and see how open it is. We next travel up to Carmel Hill and visit Park Güell by Gaudí. The park is quite whimsical and is filled with organic shapes and lots of ceramics. One of the standout features of the park is the colonnaded pathway that runs underneath the roadway viaduct. It resembles an undulating serpent. Some people mistake it for an aqueduct, but it's just designed to accommodate the hill's uneven terrain. Notice the little stones embedded in the ceiling, just another attention to detail of Gaudí. One of the interesting things about the park, it was a planned housing development that was being planned by Gaudí. And there were 2 houses built in the park, neither of which were designed by Gaudí, but Gaudí lived here until his death. Since the park is on a hill, you get some great views of the city. You can even see La Sagrada Familia from here, which will be our next stop. From here, we also get our first look at the plaza, the sand top, where the undulating walls create the impression of being on a sandy beach. Yet another example of Gaudí's architecture blending in with nature. Continuing with this beach theme, there's an undulating bench that gives people plenty of chances to sit down, and it's decorated with beautiful ceramics. The plaza is huge, and it has a specific purpose, and when it rains, it collects rainwater, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. Before we go down underneath the plaza, we can see this undulating pathway again, and many of the columns in the front of them are decorated with animals, plants, and people, like this woman with a basket on her head. We are now in the Hall of Columns, which is also known as the Hypostyle Room, and it supports the plaza that we saw above us with 86 Doric columns, and the ceiling has a lot of original tile shard mosaics, which are also another signature of Gaudí's work. The plaza above collects the rainwater, which then flows through these columns and serves as water for the park below it. There are 2 stone houses below the Hall of Columns, which serve as a gatekeeper, and they were part of the original housing plan designed by Gaudí. And here you can see where some of the water ends up that is stored in the columns above. This house provided living quarters for the park's gatekeeper, while the larger one was used as a waiting room for people that were interested in buying property here. Now we're off to Gaudí's masterpiece, La Sagrada Familia. This is arguably Gaudí's most famous work, and it's a large, unfinished basilica. Gaudí worked on the basilica for 43 years, from 1883 until his death in 1926. The project is scheduled for completion in 2026 to mark the 100th anniversary of his death, but unfortunately, the pandemic got in the way and the construction is delayed for a few more years. This is the Nativity facade and was the first facade to be completed, and Gaudí oversaw its construction. It's dedicated to the birth of Jesus, and its sculptures and architecture are bursting with life and nature. Sit back and relax and enjoy a little slideshow of the Nativity's facade, and you can marvel at the detail and the carvings found here. We enter through a door with leaves and even bugs on the outside and come across the inside, which contains text from different religious texts. The interior is known for its stunning light effects. The stained glass windows on the east side use cooler hues like blues and greens, while the west side use warmer oranges and reds, and we were here late in the evening. It creates a light show throughout the day and really symbolizes the transition from dawn to dusk. And here's a spiral staircase I would not want to walk up. Gaudí was not the original architect of the basilica. It was started by another architect, but in 1883, the original architect resigned, and Gaudí took over the project and changed it to match his vision. For the next 43 years, Gaudí dedicated the rest of his life to the construction of the basilica. He not only worked on the actual building, but created detailed plans for its future completion. The central nave is incredibly tall, and it is designed to resemble a forest with branching columns intended to symbolize trees. It's once again an example of Gaudí and his affection for nature. After Gaudí's death, the challenge fell to artisans and architects to realize Gaudí's plans. Unfortunately, some of the models and things were destroyed in the Spanish Civil War. Nevertheless, the basilica continues to reflect Gaudí's overall design. Now, I visited Barcelona in 2003, and you can see from this photo what progress has been made in 20 years on the construction of the central nave. So we exit from the opposite side and come across a shell that's used for holy water, as well as a door with more scriptures on it. This is the Passion facade, which was constructed after Gaudí's death, and it depicts the suffering, death, and resurrection of Jesus, but it's very stark and austere and contrasts sharply with the Nativity facade. "20 years ago, this facade was largely complete, but now it includes the columns and the lettering on the roof. The back of the building has high-reaching spires, as well as the apse and semi-domes. The overall impression is one of just really great detail, grandeur, and spiritual symbolism designed to inspire awe and reflection. In 1909, Gaudí designed and built a school specifically for the workers that were building the basilica. Aside from standard classroom furniture, the building does exhibit Gaudí's whimsical design. Well, that's it for Gaudí's Barcelona, and it's time to look for another place to visit. But in the meantime, be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video if you enjoyed it.